So today it's my last sure Sunday at home because I do not think that next Sunday I will be able to spend it at home, and I have an imminent eviction, so unless my appeal is successful, I will be homeless for the first time in my life, roofless, in the sense that it's the first time that for an extended amount of time I have no view of knowing, when I will have a roof again. I have experienced every year of my life wondering since I was a little girl where I will be next year. Where every springtime asking where I will be next year, looking at the blossoms. But this year, this time, it's really that I do not know where to go, and I do not have for the first time really the strength physically to go anywhere, which I already knew last year. And in fact, when I arrived here, it was really like my selection of the safest place where to go, because I was looking, as every survivor of stalking should, in my opinion, look for a place where you have the minimal interaction with just one person in order to rent. That is to avoid what happens often to victims of stalking, that is especially organized stalking, that is slander. But usually even like private stalking, that mine is private stalking, that is still organized stalking. But what I mean is, even if it's just one person, even if it's just one guy, usually he will try to slander you. It's just that it's a common threat of all stalking and harassment, to try and slander you, to try and send videos of yourself as a mean of retaliation, or videos, or all sorts, in order to disrupt your reputation. And these can be made up or real videos, or they can be montage videos that portray reality in a different way than it is. Let's put it that way. So the most sensible thing to do, which I was obviously trying to do, is to secure a rent before you go anywhere, to make sure that that person is wanting to rent to you, and that they are willing to rent long term, and that there is no other people involved, so that you only have to deal with one person. And one person is better than a couple, whether you are more comfortable with a man or a woman, because you do not have the complexity of a couple to deal with if there is any issue. If there is any issue, you have to think that everything will double and possibly become like a giant mountain from something really small if there is a couple, because you can go and trigger in a couple when you rent in a house, especially if, as a lone woman, rather, or widow, even worse. Like if you, or someone that never marries, even worse than the widow. Yeah, because you go and trigger all sorts of messy mess in couples. So it's just really not a place where to go, where there is couples, or where even there is any two people that might not presently be involved in any romantic relationship, but might in the future. So whenever there is or two people, just in general, just try to avoid that and have one person, so that the problems do not double. If there is any conflict of interest, any problem, or if there is any slander, it's gonna be much easier to sort it out with just one person. If there is a group to fight with, in the case of a problem, you are gonna have no chance. Whereas if you are with one person only, and you can have a home long enough, you are gonna have your life back, you know, soon enough, because you'll be able to have a home, and therefore bit by bit have again all those things that are needed for life, to have friends and work and relationships and a doctor and all the things that you need, you know. And so that is what I was trying to do, obviously. And this is really something that I did not expect to be at 46, facing for the first time really the perspective that I don't know if I will survive and how. I don't have a clear idea of how I will survive, you know, how these, because even if people can survive homelessness, and they do all the time, and live in cars, or go to camping places and share bathrooms, and do not have bathrooms, or do not have water, or have to go to the swimming pool and things like that. You can do it in certain health conditions, but not in others, and that is just a fact. And there is disabilities that are not apparently apparent. So like if you get a state lawyer, a judicial lawyer that is not acting in your interest, but in what he thinks that it's his interest to get away from it as soon as possible, or from his misguided interpretation of the facts, based, for instance, in this case, on the false allegations of the counterparty that was trying to tell my lawyer to be critical about me. I mean, instead of being she herself correct and check if she was using some fake police report or premeditated police report, which makes it arguably say like fake, because if you are breaking the law to take something, to take a parcel, to sign for it, I mean, it means that you know that it's worth it. Otherwise you wouldn't break the law for some makeup, for some nothing, right? And if you knew that it was worth it, in this case, like I was evicted on false allegations, he knew that it was worth it, because he had fabricated already allegations by making threats himself and disseminating them around here, where only I could be accused, whereas I would know on the other, by the landlady, whereas I would know that it was him and that I was getting accused for it, which is just the most horrifying experience that I do not wish to anybody. And this is why I am doing an Ayurvedic hunger strike of 6 weeks to express my dissent to what happened in the court of Groningen on the 10th of April this year. So it's a healthy one, it's not a dying one, but it's a way to also say, you know, to really express the legalized assassination of putting someone in the street. I mean, the legalized, yeah, it's like a legalized assassination of someone, to put someone in the streets that whose health doesn't support it, or even, you know, just to put someone that hasn't done anything in the streets based on a false police report, essentially. Because if you commit a crime in order to obtain it, I mean, I don't want to repeat myself, so I'll stop there. And anyway, so I was thinking, how can I prevent other people from experiencing these? And I thought that the only way is to go unfiltered, because if I'm trying to wait that my way of speaking is again the same as before the assault, or that I get all the filters back as they were. First of all, I will have forgotten what was relevant to say right now. That is, needs to be unfiltered as it is. But also it will not be as helpful to the people that might find themselves in this situation, because when you are in this situation, it's where you need to speak out in order to be safe. It is not by continuing to hide and helping the world to deny the reality of stalking and what makes it possible that you will help yourselves of others. Because what makes stalking possible, it's not only that women are not believed. I mean, women, not only women, but people in general. It can be boys, it can be any marginalized person, it can be any marginalized immigrant, it can refugee, anyone. But what makes it possible for the outsider to continue to be a victim of violence from someone that is an insider of the society is the fact that they are not believed, or they are not believed as much as someone that is an insider who is doing that violence to that person and doesn't want that person to become an insider. So unless someone at some point breaks that circle, breaks that pattern, and will believe the outsider and give the outsider the same credibility, the same access to I don't know, public institutions like the police and the prosecution, like lawyers, etc., as someone insider, it will continue to happen. I don't know if I express myself well. It will continue to happen that the pariahs will remain pariahs, because they will continue to be always insiders to that society that will not want that person to become an insider. So they will do something to prevent it. And they will be believed more because they already have a place, they already are believable. That is the second element. So the outsider is bringing an uncomfortable story that is going to upset relationships and structures that are stable and rooted, and the comfortable insider that is accused of that violence will be, or maybe even a person in authority, can even be a policeman, it can be, I mean, luckily not in my case, but it can be like a professor, a teacher, a priest, don't know, a psychiatrist, a psychologist. a doctor. So someone that is either in authority or has a place of trust or is protected by the community or is protected by someone in authority, or with the status that is highly respected and gets a preferential treatment in that social group. And so that is just the pattern again and again, you know. You don't have to go to the Dogville extent to understand this dynamic, because it's a very simple one. And so the suggestion is, first of all, try not to get to this point of becoming homeless, because stalking will try to do that. It acts a lot with eviction because it makes victims very vulnerable. It breaks your finances, it breaks your reputation, it breaks your relationships, it breaks both professional and personal. It breaks your net, it breaks everything that you try to build. It breaks all your your dating attempts, your dating profiles, your social media, anything that it's gonna try to put you back in society and gives you the power and the status to make it stop, basically. Because if you can pay for a lawyer, you can make it stop. If you have the credibility still of going to the police and make the report because you haven't even been impersonated with the police, you know, like you have chances to make it stop. But if your reputation is destroyed, if all your relationships are attacked and under assault, because every time that you change phone you contact your people again and you get rehacked again with all your contacts, at some point you will become homeless, and they will try to put you in jail, to criminalize you, to put you in an institution, to psychiatrize you, to take your children from you. It's what stalking does. So whether it is organized or disorganized, I mean individual. So yeah, you need to find just one person to rent from, and just try to travel really light and get your things into storage, because which is really difficult if you're studying, because I have a lot of books, and also if you have a certain age and you get a bit tired, you know, of camping, and or you have disabilities for which you can't anymore live without certain things like running water, so or electricity because of your job. And so the other thing is, if you do go homeless, and also if you notice, regardless if you go homeless or not, that you are being followed, and that you can see, because whether you are walking in a park, for instance, or you are driving, when you are followed, you will notice that this person over the field is trying to get in a trajectory of you when you are going somewhere that is isolated. That person is going to try and follow you there, that man. And so when you see that and change direction, and then you see from the other side of the field that he also changes direction, or you see that you are in an isolated place and you turn and you keep finding this person behind you asking for directions. I mean, I'm not joking. So it's what happened to me. Like these ones that I was asking for direction is actually the guy that is from like the Glastonbury Bridgewater stalking group, like directly from where it all started in Britain. And it looks like Salvini. So it's like impossible to forget. It's unforgettable. Salvini, it's one of the most how can I put it so I don't get sued for defamation? Well, it's not a very popular Italian politician, let's put it that way, okay? It's one of those politicians that if you are Italian, you don't want to be Italian anymore. And this guy looks like Salvini, and just like the photocopy of Salvini, in my opinion. It's like just part of this dystopian joke that reality is. And yeah, the guy was following me in Sidmouth and just appearing from behind. And because luckily I had post-traumatic stress disorder and therefore paranoia out of being stalked, I kept turning around because I had just recently, days before, had been attempted an assault again by the same guy who tried to put an end to my life in March 2022, about 5 hours away from his home in Wales. This time it was. So when I went to Sidmouth and I saw this Salvini guy that looked like him in the park, he was appearing with the dog and saying, sorry, I got lost, because I turned around, he was getting really close, and he was like, oh, I got lost. And he was telling me where he wanted to go, so I told him where to go, and I told him how it was impossible to get lost there because there was only one road. And after like 10 minutes, he appeared again behind me. After disappearing in the opposite direction, he appeared again behind me, saying again that he was lost. And again, I turned around just in time, just like the day that I was being almost assaulted again by the offender who was wearing a red wig on the 17th of September 2022 in Aberfurwest. So when you notice being followed by a car, you can recognize it because you are, for instance, you start the motor and this person will start the motor. Then you turn the motor off. This is what you should do when you notice these things, you know, or that there is always a car waiting for you there in the parking next to you. They are trying to scare you from being there, you know. They are trying to say, don't come here anymore, or we are gonna keep a track of when you go in and out of this place. In this instance, it's somewhere that I really love going, and it makes me obviously uncomfortable now to go there. I didn't go today because this happens a lot at the moment, you know. And so I noticed that I start the car and these guys are starting the car, I turn it off and they turn it off, so they don't even try to hide that they are stalking me. And then I go in a direction, stop, and they change direction and they change. So when these very obvious things are happening, you know that, okay, they are following me. This is what was happening in Sweden in 2023. Just after, when I was at my worst with the British guy, because unfortunately I had a severe head injury and I was responding to him on WhatsApp. So this exacerbated the stalking. You should never respond to a stalker, never. Even when they are like, unless they are like, which is what happened. This is how he was proposing me job service, like to a job through WhatsApp, and I called him by name and I said something that I knew that would trigger him to get a response, so that I could screenshot it. And then these screenshots disappeared. Only like a part of it remained. But in any case, even what remained was clear that he was not offering a job, but he was stalking me. And so you should always try to get evidence like that, but without provoking them too much. Like when they write you messages, respond in a way that will trigger them to get angry, to respond, but not so angry that things get really dangerous for you, like I did. And the other thing is always take note of their plate numbers. Even like when you start seeing a car there at the parking, just go there with the cigarette and take their plate, you know, like, okay, you are waiting for me, so I'm just passing by, I'm gonna have a look at your plate, and then I'm gonna take a mental note, and then if you keep following me, I'm gonna report you to the police right away that this is happening. Like if the police has a file for you for stalking. If they don't, just keep track of it a few times, take videos of it, and then you can report it when you have a few, like there is like a repeated pattern of at least 2 times. Then you can report it that this is happening together with everything else that is happening, you know, and that will protect you, because these guys, if they do something and the police has their plate, if something happens to you, they will be the first to be suspected, and that protects you, and that inhibits dangerous social behavior. That is these men that have nice cars, and they have nice looks, and they look in good health. Like these guys that came were like people that could have been like not attractive from the outside. I mean, I wouldn't say that was attractive, because I find that deeply disgusting, but outside, from the outside, to follow women, it's just the most horrendous and disgusting thing you can do. There is no words for it, really, because if I even have to explain it, there is a problem, you know, because so and they were just in good health, and with nice bodies, with nice faces, with nice cars, and just doing that. They probably have partners, they probably have wives, because what makes organized stalking so viable, so strong, is that there is women, you know, like my landlady, like the wife of the guy that tried to put an end to my life, like those women of the Ladies Festival in the UK that didn't allow us, of a community to whom this is being done by a group of men, they didn't allow us to be known in person, to be talked to in person about it with respect and hearing our side, because when you get slandered to such an extent as an individual or as a group or as friends or whatever, what happens is that those people have on your face is attached all the terrible things that have been written and said in your name. So if there was even, like, as soon as there is like a conflict, for instance, a problem, an issue with someone, and online identity theft is happening in that way, you will never be able to sort it out if you don't address it legally, because that's just what happens. People confuse the internet for reality. So in general, already, when there isn't online identity theft, so when there is online identity theft, if there is not a strong practice of presence in that relationship, and you haven't you know, talked about it before with that person, that for instance you are target of online identity theft, etc. Either it can be business wise, or it can be financially, or it can be different ways, because sometimes it's just phishing links that get sent to groups of people, and you need to inform your contacts just because of that. But if it's that the emails are going around in your name in that way. But if it's not about financial theft and it's about just defamation to stalking purposes, it becomes really difficult to get people to respect and believe that when there is conflict. Because when there is conflict and things get difficult, people are overwhelmed. Everybody has, like, we are in a global era of a generalized post-traumatic stress disorder, even by those that do not have it consciously, because it's just that we all breed traumatic stress disorder, my opinion. So people cannot deal with stress anymore, and as soon as there is something like that, all they want to do is cut. There is no time to fix it. This is why it's so successful nowadays to stalk women that way, and it allows them to have fun in that way, because they see you drawn slowly, and at first you don't even know you're droning. You, like when I left the UK, I just thought I'm going to my mom for a while, you know. I had no idea of what would happen when I went to Italy that year, in 2022. I had no idea what would be done to our home and, you know, to my reputation in that village, where my reputation had already been pretty much destroyed by libel and slander due to the general homophobia in Tuscany, especially in small places like that. So yeah, I don't know. I have talked to in the past to victims of stalking, and they are always afraid of being seen, and just always fearful. And like, we need to really change the culture, I think, about, I'm just checking how many minutes I'm talking so that it doesn't become too long. Change the culture that the men start feeling ashamed of this behavior, and that is because the reason is, and that the women start to recognize when their men are doing this, that they start recognize the patterns. They start never dismissing a woman that is stalking. It should be completely illegal, both for people and lawyers. It should be like an actual crime to dismiss a person victim of stalking, and not yeah, or to even defame her and slander her, because you really destroy the possibility of it should be like a separate offense to slander a survivor of stalking or of gender violence, because already that has these reports that were done, you know, like there must be like some kind of new laws implemented there to prevent society continuing doing this to women and survivors in general. There should be a law that makes it a particular offense, especially women, because it's the oldest form of violence known. Öcalan was not wrong there in his book Gilgamesh. The oldest form of ownership exercised by men is on women, and the oldest form of violence exercised by men on women is yeah, it's the oldest form of violence that on half of the world population that is normalized. And the question that is the most present to me right now is, how do these men that have everything that they would want, you know, that and also the ones more creepy that they don't, but like, how is it that they get that credibility socially, that they can maintain that social behavior of stalking, raping, and operating coercive control on women, violating their life, disrupting their life to the point of death. And, you know, like when you become really vulnerable, and then you can be kidnapped, you can be killed, anything can be done to you if you are no longer believed and no longer a member of society, you know. So, like, the question is, what do these men do to be credible? And they probably have, you know, like a double register, a double personality. They probably do things for the community that look good and healthy and good for the community, etc., you know, like. So they have that power to continue abusing other women, because the women around them don't recognize their toxicity and behavior, dangerous behavior. They don't recognize it. And so, like, in order to learn to recognize it, we need to really re-implement those ancient matriarchal ways, in my opinions, that were based on women's solidarity and listening and believing each other first. Because if you don't, in a male society dominated by men that desire normality, in fact, like the stalker said himself last July, that he likes normal, like what they are prepared to do to maintain that normal, you know, and they will not show it to the women that they want to be in their dream of normal, their dark side. They will only show it to the women that they see as a threat to their normal, or that they see as easy scapegoats for their tensions and their needs, you know. That are dark and not consensual with the victims. So the only way that I see it is that we learn to listen from the victims, that we do not dismiss the stories of the oppressed, of those that we see in lack of the basics that are home and you know, the resources, life resources that should be shared with all. When we see people that have less, instead of judging them, instead of abusing them daily, instead of by asking them, why don't you have the same as everybody else, that should be it's just like asking I don't know, like gay people, what do they do together in bed? It's just that kind of politically incorrect questions, that it's not just politically incorrect for no reason, but because it diminishes the dignity and right to privacy of people that have different inclinations, like for instance gay people that I was mentioning, or LGBT, or different or lesser means in the case of the homeless, you know, that people that do not have and never had a stable home in, or were always in temporary home in, or I mean yeah, I don't think another way ahead, really. Because if we continue to like the patriarchy itself exists with the continued oppression of women, because of the fact that women are not believed when it happens. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the patriarchy. It would be called something else. Yeah. So just thoughts on stalking and the patriarchy.